Can you guess what we're doing this week? Say that again.
Palm muting.
Palm muting. And this is something you've been having a little bit of trouble with.
Yeah.
Explain to me the issue. Actually, explain to them the issue. I already know. We talked about it. You guys don't know this? We talk before we turn the camera on. Actually,
I'm having trouble coordinating like the back strokes, and then yeah, palm muting. Just putting my hand on it feels off. I don't know. I can't.
so basically, you have been working on the Three Doors Down song, the Kryptonite song. And it's got the palm muting section. It's like this. You read in the comment section, you were watching a YouTube video on how the song is played. So it's like a guy that has a lesson or something. Mm-hmm. And you said in the comment section that a lot of the beginner guitar players were complaining about the palm muting section.
Yeah, not just in that song. Usually in any song that I look up and there's palm muting, people complain about it.
So as I haven't been a beginner in some time, palm muting is something that I've taken for granted. I've taken it for granted because I never really I haven't thought about it in so long. I just do it. If I hear it in the song, I just automatically incorporate it. But you, so explain to me, like, they would just complain about it? Like, what would they say?
Yeah, they'll just say, oh, great, palm, just something. So, palm muting, great. Sure.
Is palm muting a hard thing? It must be. It seems like it is. It seems like it is a tough thing. I do remember a time when I came up with, like, a riff. It was probably in early high school when I came up with a riff that had a lot of palm muting. I was actually, looking back on it, like, I don't remember, but I do remember being, like, proud of this one riff that I made up that had a lot of palm muting in it. So maybe it was something that I struggled with and I had it and I was proud. Maybe that's the reason I was happy with it or that I liked it. So tell us in the comments if you think palm muting is tough, because it must be. It must be. For some people it's probably not. For some people it's probably easy. Some people it's harder. But for you, this seems to be one that's kind of troublesome. So
yeah.
Let's see if we can listen to the way you're doing it and see if we can come up with maybe some solutions or some practice ideas that will help you work through it.
And my shoulder starts to burn for some reason.
You feel the burn?
Yeah, I don't know why.
It's an exercise playing guitar. Why do you think they're so ripped all the time?
See, it sounds very, I don't know, choppy. I don't know what word would you use to describe it. Like, it sounds.
It just very, yeah, it's like it's not.
Honestly, I'd rather play it like that, slowly, than try and go fast and start to get.
Well, you want it to be fluid. You want it to flow. And if you're playing it fast, and you notice that that's causing it to not feel right.
Yeah.
So basically, palm muting, what it is, for those of you that don't know, you probably know. When you play a chord, and you just let the strings ring out, what you can use is the fleshy part of your hand, right here, right up against the bridge, just right after where the strings are free. If you move it up, listen to the difference. I'll start way back here. It's not palm muted at all. And I'll slowly move my hand onto the strings and I'll palm mute further and further up. Listen how it changes the sound. Remember, first it's going to be no palm muting, and I'm going to keep moving forward. Then eventually, that fleshy part of my hand is going to start to make contact with the strings on the other side of the bridge. I'm going to stop explaining it. I'm just going to do it. You know what I'm talking about. Here goes. I don't think anybody palm mutes that far up. I'll do it one more time. Slower this time.
So that's what you want it to sound like right there?
For
like
me...
As soon as you start to move up, right? That's.
Yeah, I want it to be that chunky sound, but not to where the strings are just ringing. Right? I want that chunky, muted sound, so it's kind of like right... And then what you do to punctuate the rhythm that you're playing is you mix muted notes or muted strokes with ringy strokes or free strokes or regular non-palm muted strokes. What do you call a non-palm muted stroke? Somebody tell me what that's called. You just don't say it if it's not palm muted. Anyway, I've got the angle right now, PK, where they can see, right? I'll zoom in so they can see the difference. Palm muting, not palm muting. Listen. It is a cool thing. Like, it gives you that chuggy, gallopy kind of a, you know. When you have a palm muted note, it gives you that chunky sound.
A lot of good songs have that.
A lot of songs have that, especially in rock music. Rock and metal is going to have that palm muting. So you're going to be tough pressed to find a song. But don't worry, because it's only hard right now because you're just learning it. It will become easy.
Yeah.
So let's hear you do it one more time.
Slowly? Can I do it slowly?
Don't even worry about playing the rhythm to that song. Just play some palm muting.
What do you mean? Just to make sure that I'm putting my hand in the right spot?
Just, well... Play an E power chord.
Which is... That one, right?
Right. Right, so you're doing like 2 palm muted strokes and then an open one, like. Try like 4, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just for the practice of it. I think a couple things that have happened. I think fret the note again, or fret the chord. Come back a little bit away from the fret. There you go. And let's go a little bit slower. And I think that because you're focusing hard, you're focusing real intently on what you're doing.
Pressing down on this a lot more.
Maybe that, and also when you're disengaging the palm mute. When you're disengaging the palm mute, you're stroking that last one harder.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because you're compensating for the sound. Like, it sounds like when you're like when you take the palm muting, when you disengage it, that it's, you know, it's loud, loud. It's louder because you're not palm muting, but I think you're actually hitting it harder.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's hitting it harder when he takes off the palm muting, like, and hitting the strings that hard is causing them to not ring out as nicely as they would if you gave them the appropriate amount of pressure. My stroke, right. What's changing the sound is the fact that you're taking the palm muting away. What I think is happening is you're trying to change the sound. You know it's supposed to sound different when you take the palm muting off. So you're trying to make it sound different and you're hitting it harder. I'm noticing you're doing it real soft when you're palm muting, and then real hard when you're not. I'll say that again. He's doing it real soft. I have to make sure that I don't talk at the same time I'm playing because of the volume levels. But I think what I'm trying to say is he's doing it soft when he's palm muting like this, and then when he's not palm muting, he's hitting it hard. And it's causing this imbalance of soft and hard picking that's weird.
Instead of, what should it be?
Even strokes across the whole thing, which would be just like.
Try again. See if that was a problem.
I mean, yeah, you'll have to practice it, but let's see if it helps right away.
Maybe the volume just isn't, it sounds...
No, it sounds better, actually, than what you were doing.
I'm still doing it a bit. On the last two, I did it.
Yeah, you started.
I don't know. I don't know if it's changing or not. Maybe a bit.
That was better. That was better. Okay, so what I think we have to put together a plan because this is the first time that you've really struggled with something. So I think the plan is you've got to go home and you've got to practice with all these things in mind that we brought up. So I want you to practice your stroking of a power chord, which is 3 strings. You want to hit all 3, even when you're palm muting. Now some songs they just palm mute the bass note, and sometimes it'll be a. Right now, I want you to play all 3 strings of the chord when you're palm muting and when you're not. So, and what I want you to do is I want you to do that pattern of 4 on 4 off. Or 4 on 1 off, sorry, like. And I want you to make sure your pick stroke is the same amount of pressure when you're palm muting, when you are palm muting, and when you are not palm muting, or when the palm muting is disengaged, or when you're not palm muting, which is called regular. I don't know. Who knows? Well, either way, the point remains: the same amount of pick attack when you're palm muting and when you're not, so it's a consistent. So that way, it's the same amount. And the palm muting is what changed the sound, not the amount of pick attack. That's a different dynamic. Like, obviously, there's songs where you want to pick light and harder, and you can play with your dynamics that way. But that's not what makes the difference here in palm muting. What makes the difference here is the palm muting. So now we know what palm muting is. You know what palm muting is. They hopefully know what palm muting is. They probably already knew. If they don't, if you're following along with his progress, comment below and tell us if you're keeping up, how you're stacking up. Some things easier for you, some things harder for you. That would be my guess. And that is a wrap on this. He's going to go home and practice palm muting so that way we can move on to week 8 and see what crazy new thing we come up with. Probably something nobody else has even heard of. We're going to make up a new thing for week 8. No, we're not. Everything's been done.
What's it going to be?
I don't know. We're going to figure that out. But that's a wrap.